The N+1, global yet very local cycling podcast, brought to you by Lowlands Cycling.
Yeah, Jerry's told me a little about you, but can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah,
Your background?
my name is Erik Hofman. I'm originally from the Netherlands, like Jerry. But when I moved to the United States, I ended up doing a charity ride for Team in Training. And that was like 100-mile around Lake Tahoe. And that really got me interested in the whole, cycling world. And that kind of has been evolving from, charity riding to amateur racing to now being a time crunch cyclist, finding the Zwift platform to accommodate for still training and staying fit. Doing the coaching piece.
When did you start with coaching?
Right. So, just from a work perspective, I've always liked coaching new people at work, like the younger people that come in and kind of share your knowledge about certain things. And what I did when I kind of started my Dutch diesel cycling business, I started doing clinics on the mountain bike for kids. And the reason that I did mountain bike clinics was because I thought it was more accessible for kids. The parents didn't have to worry about the dangers of the road, even though there's still some risks involved, but at least you're out on the trails and there's not like cars zooming by. So then, some people that I knew from the cycling world reached out to me and see if I could coach them. And that's kind of how I pivoted to, coaching adults from like an annual training plan perspective. So it kind of has evolved, from soccer coaching all the way to now doing the cycling coaching.
So you mentioned Dutch diesel. That's a very particular name. Can you explain why Dutch diesel?
Right. So when I was doing my amateur racing from 2009 to 2014, I was on several teams, and I basically got the nickname. I wasn't the person that would go for wins or sprints, even though I'm a big guy. I was more the workhorse for the team, and I would just, keep people out of the wind, close gaps, sometimes go on breakaways just to kind of soften up the pack. And just, I think bigger guys have a bigger engine and more, can have more endurance, like just energy-wise. So I think that's how I got the name Dutch Diesel. And so when I started thinking about like a company name, I was kind of first shy about using my nickname for my company, but I think it kind of worked out. It's starting to stick.
Now we're in this period of, we don't know what the races are. So I feel like everyone is kind of wants to know like what should they be doing at this point, because if we don't know when the first race is, like what are we training for, right?
Right, exactly. I have answered questions from people that during this whole COVID scenario, they are losing motivation because they cannot really ride outside with a group, and that's what they're really used to. They love doing that, and all of a sudden they're being told like, well, go by yourself, or maybe with two people stay 6 feet apart, which I think is hard to do. And they're losing their motivation. What I'm telling them is set a different goal, right? For example, people that only ride outside and maybe in the past have done indoor riding, they always dreading it because, we all have experienced it, right? You had maybe a TV on or some music and an hour on the rollers or your fluid trainer seemed like forever. I would still kind of create a training plan where you keep going through the different phases, right? Where you maintain your base, you build, everybody wants to build certain skills, right? Either it's VO2 max or their FTP, and just kind of keep cycling that until you have an event, and now you can become event specific again. But I think if you fill that time in between, you keep yourself in shape, and I think you will gain strength while doing it.
I think a lot of other people experience with being on Zwift, for example, and the risk of overtraining, because there is always an event, there is always a race, there is always a group workout, there's always something going on, and especially when you're kind of sucked up in the community. you can race every hour of the day, right? And it's so tempting to jump on yet another ride.
And if you get carried away, it's one of the reasons why it's easier to get overtrained. Zwift is not the reason that you get overtrained. It's more you get carried away. It's easy to jump on the bike. You can do it more frequently, right? And so there's the temptation, and so that makes you overtrain. And this is only going to grow bigger.
I'm pretty much convinced for that also. If you look at the race for all now, with backed up by GCN and Eurosport, basically. These 5 stages, they did an amazing job. They separated out the women and the men, but the coverage was really, really good, and they had really good riders, like Marianne Vos and Greg van Avermaet and Van der Poel, and so many more good riders who were really riding their asses off, going super hard on those races. If you download the app, the GCN app, I would highly recommend just watching a couple of those races. It's super interesting.